Okay, namaste. Setting up, we have namaste to all our wonderful participants that are online who have joined us from other countries. Um, Today we'll work with the Sutras of Patanjali. It's really high. It's truly, truly a gift because it really lends perspective. It really will help to change your perspective on yoga, to make you understand yoga in its real sense. Okay. So the sutras, so little bit about the science of yoga. Basically, the way yoga was, it was, they dated back to around 5000 BC, and nobody knows exactly when it started because it was a tradition that was passed down from teacher to student. And the tradition was such that the student would go to the teacher's ashram and then would be initiated into practices based on what the student's readiness was, you see. So it was really a more one-on-one kind of teaching, and then basically there was no real scripture or to explain the whole science of yoga until Patanjali came around. Patanjali, no one knows whether he was even an individual or a group of people, but it is a well-known fact that the sutras came into existence around anywhere between 5000 BC and 300 AD. Yeah, and around that time, these sutras were actually they came into being, and it was Patanjali who took the whole science of yoga and put it down. He kind of put the whole science down into a treatise called the Sutras of Patanjali. Now, what are the sutras? What is the meaning of the word sutras? Sutra is string. The literal meaning of sutra is string. Now, the sutras are just short sentences that are like beads. You know how you have beads? You have a string and you have beads strung on the string, right? So these beads are like these words that are like two-liners, three-line words, sentences, which then get interpreted by a teacher. A teacher then explains the meaning of those lines to students and shares the practice of yoga. That's how it is. It became, so it's basically like the first sutra is only a few words. It says Atha Yoga Anushasanam, Atha Yoga Anushasanam. So basically it is only, the whole thing starts off with that, just one sentence, yeah, meaning now the practice of, now the science of yoga is being explained. Okay, this is one sentence. Now we begin. You're ready to receive an understanding of what yoga is. Yeah. Now, so that's the meaning of the word sutras. Now, these sutras are 196, around 196 in number, and it consists of 4 parts. Okay, what are the 4 parts? It is, the first part is called Samadhi Pada. Yeah, Samadhi Pada is in which he samadhi. So before I go into this, let me explain a little bit. So Samadhi Pada is the first portion. Yeah. So the sutras is divided into 4 portions. Okay. The first portion is called Samadhi Pada. Okay. The second portion, and I'll explain later what Samadhi is, Samadhi Pada. The second is called Sadhana Pada. The third is called Vibhuti Pada. And the fourth is called Kaivalya Pada. So Pada means portion, okay? Now, Samadhi, so if you look at the science of yoga, basically, the yoga that we practice here is Hatha Yoga, right? I need the dusters. I need dusters. In the cupboard drawer. Yeah, I think so. Or just get me a tissue box. Yeah. So Hatha Yoga. Hatha, ha is sun, and tha is moon. Okay. So this is the literal meaning of Hatha Yoga. Now, Hatha, ha and tha. We are basically the yoga that we practice everywhere, all over the world, which you see is all the asanas, physical postures, right? That is actually, thank you. That is actually the science of the body and the breath, okay? And it is basically under the category of Raja Yoga. So the main yoga is called Raja Yoga. And under this umbrella, you have Hatha Yoga. So what is Raja Yoga and what is Hatha? Raja means royal, the royal path, okay? It is the yoga of the mind. What is Raja Yoga? It's actually the yoga of the mind. The whole science of yoga it's the science of the mind. Okay, remember that. Remember that. We all do these poses and we think it's all about asanas. It's not. It's really all about the mind. So Raja is royal path and it's all about the mind. And the practices that lead to Raja Yoga is Hatha Yoga. So Hatha Yoga is the physical practices that lead us to Raja Yoga. So Raja Yoga is the main head, and under that you have Hatha Yoga. And the reason we practice Hatha Yoga is to attain Raja Yoga. Do you all understand that? That is very important to understand. So now, Ha and Ta, sun and moon. The human body consists of the two energies, yin and yang. Yeah, in Taoist philosophy, we understand it as yin and yang. In yoga, we understand it as lunar and solar energy. Okay, and now the balancing, when those two energies come into a state of perfect balance, then it is said that we can attain that state of yoga. Under normal circumstances, we are either in this direction or in that direction. Either more solar energy, more lunar energy. So we do all these practices in order to balance the two energies in the body. So remember, we do the alternate nostril breathing. Everybody knows the alternate nostril breathing. The alternate nostril breathing is to ultimately balance the two energies, the yin and the yang, the solar and the lunar. You're working with the right nostril and the left nostril. The left nostril is the lunar nostril, the right nostril is the solar nostril. So when I do the alternate nostril breathing, I'm essentially balancing the two energies in my body so that my mind can come into a state of absolute silence. Okay, so the Raja Yoga, so the sutras and all the yoga practice everywhere in the world is trying to attain Raja Yoga, which is a yoga, the science of the mind. Now that you understand that, let's look at what Raja Yoga talks about. What is Raja Yoga now? So Raja Yoga is a royal path and it consists of 8 limbs, Ashtanga, 8 limbs, okay? It's not the Ashtanga yoga that is practiced outside. That's not what we are referring to here. We are referring to the 8 actual limbs of yoga. And what are those 8 limbs? The first limb, so let's look at Raja Yoga. It has 8 limbs, consists of 8 limbs. And what are the 8 limbs? The first limb is Yama. The second limb is Niyama. The third is Asana. The fourth is Pranayama. The fifth is Pratyahara. The sixth is Dharana. The seventh is Dhyana. And the 8th is Samadhi. So you can see Samadhi here. So essentially, it is Raja Yoga is the royal path to lead one to a state of Samadhi or enlightenment. So what is Raja Yoga? It is a science that leads one through these 8 limbs into that state of Samadhi. What is the meaning of Samadhi? Liberation. What is Samadhi? Liberation. Liberation from what? So we are all here as individual entities, and we think this is me, this is who I am. When we start practicing yoga, we stop identifying. As we start to progress on the path of yoga, that is, if you practice yoga correctly, where it's really involving the mind, not just doing physical contortions, it's not really that. A lot of people think if I can get up into a headstand, then I'm a yogi. It's far from it, right? It has nothing to do with the headstand, nothing to do with those arm balances, nothing to do with any of those fancy poses that you see on Instagram. It's really all about attaining silence of the mind, quietening the mind. So what is yoga? In the second sutra, the first sutra, he says, Atha Yoga Nushasanam. Now begins the exposition of yoga. Now begins we start to explain what is yoga, he says. What is the second sutra? He says, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, in the second sutra. He says, yoga is the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. So what is yoga? It is the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. What are the fluctuations? My mind is constantly busy, and constantly getting identified with this object, that object. I see something, I say, I like it. I see that, I want it. I see that, I say, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's not me, that's me, that's not me. So we have, as a result, become nothing but entities that are full of these different identities and all of these different things that I'm tall, I'm short, I'm beautiful, I'm ugly, I'm good, I'm bad, I've got a hot temper, I've got a cold temper. All of these things is who I believe I am. But we are none of that. And why have we started to believe we are that? Simply because we have started to mentally identify with that. We've forgotten our true nature. We've forgotten who we truly are. So what we are doing here through yoga, we're starting to slowly peel away the layers. It's like onion, like an onion. If I keep peeling away the onion, this thing, if I really want to get the juicy part of the onion, I need to take out all the skins around. It's the same way. Yoga is about peeling away those layers of ignorance, which make me believe that I am this body. I am this body. I am this mind. I am my emotions. I am my life circumstances. So maybe I'm going through a lot of hardship in my life. I start to identify with that. Yeah. Or maybe I suddenly become a millionaire. I start to identify with that. I start to think, oh, I'm so great. Look at me. I'm now a millionaire, right? I start to, everything that I do, I take on, I start to become that. So my true identity becomes clouded. It starts to become covered up. It gets so deeply covered up by these layers upon layers upon layers of ignorance that what is yoga doing? Yoga is about peeling away those layers of ignorance until the true me, who I truly am, becomes revealed to me. Tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. So that's the third sutra. The first sutra, he says, now I begin. The second sutra, now, he says, now is the present moment. In this present moment, I begin this exposition of yoga. In the second sutra, Atha Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. What are the fluctuations? Vrittis. What are fluctuations? Vrittis. What are fluctuations called? Vrittis. Now, what are these vrittis of fluctuations? My restlessness. Yeah, I become restless about this. I want something, I want this, I want that. I'm constantly, my peace is, I'm never at peace. So when we talk about seated meditation, what is it that most people have difficulties with? When they sit for meditation, right? What happens to you? What happens? You tell me. Sorry? No, even sitting for 5 minutes. You see, ask somebody to do 12 Surya Namaskars, they will get up and do 12 Surya Namaskars. Ask them to sit still for 5 minutes. What will they say? I'm so sorry, I can't do it. Why? The mind is just constantly on the go, right? The mind is so occupied every minute. And we justify that being preoccupied by saying, if I don't do that, how am I going to get on with my life, right? So what yoga does is it teaches you how to balance the inner with the outer, because that's true. I have to get on with life. I need to earn money. I need to put food on the table. I need to pay my bills. I need to do all that 100%. But underneath all of that, there is within me a tremendous energy, a tremendous tranquility, a tremendous power that I don't even know about, that is within me. So I'm literally like a beggar going around thinking the world is going to give me all of these. When I look around me, that fame is going to bring it to me. The money is going to give it to me. That relationship is going to bring it to me. But we realized when we study the sutras that all of this universe, this whole world is just a mirror. It's reflecting back what is within me. The truth is, none of this has any substance, real substance. Why does it have no substance? Because it's all temporarily. It's temporary and it's constantly changing. Okay, it's here today, tomorrow it's not here. So then I become attached to it, I become identified with it. Then when I lose it, I suffer. So essentially, what yoga is teaching you is to silence your mind, so that you're able to tune inwards and you're able to understand that within you is the changeless dimension. Within you is the unchanging Purusha, or the absolute. And when I get a glimpse of that, and how do I get a glimpse of that? Through dhyana. So dhyana is meditation. Through dhyana, I start to get a glimpse of that peace within me that I can't describe. And the more I start getting glimpses of that peace within me, then I start to realize that all of these things are really not what they're cut out to be. In the past, I gave it so much importance, but now I realize really, it's all really doesn't have much substance. The wisdom starts to grow in you. You start to become more understanding. So those layers that we were talking about start to get peeled off. And that's what, when we practice yoga, we practice the mental yoga I'm talking about, not just the physical yoga. When we practice the mental yoga and all the practices that go with mental yoga, gradually the ignorance starts to drop away and there is wisdom. And with that wisdom comes a tremendous sense of peace, a tremendous joy that starts to make you realize that life is not just accumulating things and identifying with these things because they're not going to bring me lasting happiness. It's about quietening my mind. So the whole of this practice is for one purpose. It is to still the fluctuations of the mind. Yeah. So, and that when those fluctuations come to a standstill, what happens? We merge with our true nature. We are no longer identified with anything. We dropped all identity. And now I merge with, that's the union that people talk about is yoga. I unite with my true self, with who I really am. Right now, I'm disconnected from it, completely disconnected from it, which is why I'm looking for pleasure outside of me, because I haven't tasted the real pleasure that is within me, the real joy that is within me. So samadhi is that state. So he, in the very first portion of his sutras, he talks about samadhi. He talks about what it is. Maybe it is there, they say it is there to inspire the aspirant to say, I want to do it because it's going to give me that peace. And I'm seeking, what is every human being seeking in the end? Happiness, peace, joy. We do everything in this world for that, right? So samadhi is the first, samadhi pada is the first chapter, the first portion of the sutras. So the 8 limbs are yama. It starts with the moral and ethical conduct. So it starts with my relationship with the world. How do I relate to the world? If I'm going around hurting others, harming others, I'm becoming more and more deluded. I'm going deeper and deeper into that state of ignorance or avidya. Yeah, I shout at someone, I hurt someone, I'm actually hurting myself. Because once you start practicing yoga on a deep level, you realize that the other is you. If the other is your mirror, it's like going and just knocking the mirror. My reflection is going to be distorted, right? If I knock the mirror, now I want to see my face, my reflection in the mirror. The other is my mirror. The other is a reflection of me, actually. So the other and me, we're all the same. We're all one and the same. I might have black skin, someone might have white skin, but we are all the same, 100% the same. No different. We are the same energy, the same spirit. Everything is the same. Maybe my appearance is different, my education is different, my life circumstances are different from yours, but we are underneath all that, where the unchanging dimension is, which connects us together, is we are the one and the same. So we see that the yamas, he talks about, it's a systematic path to self-realization or liberation. In the yamas, he talks about the five, like the 10 commandments, 5 yamas and 5 niyamas, my relationship to the world and my relationship to myself. What are those yamas, niyamas? We'll go into that in the second chapter, where he talks about sadhana pada. In that, we will talk about the first 5 limbs of yoga, and they're called bahiranga, the external limbs, all the external practices. Yes, all the external practices are the first 5, which is yama, niyama. So yama is like I said in a gist, my relationship to the world. Niyama is my relationship to myself, how I keep myself. Asana, everybody knows, I don't need to talk about it, but the literal meaning of asana is seat, S-E-A-T. So hatha yoga is a fairly new thing. You understand, all these contortions that we do are relatively new. The ancient most and the science that we are really concerned about, any yoga practitioner should be concerned about, is Raja Yoga, the yoga of the mind. Okay, so asana, we know asana. Asana is just a means to Raja Yoga. It's a means to meditation. And as I always explain in my class, it is to open up the channels so that the intelligence flows through, so that as that opening happens, there's a natural, the consciousness starts to become more elevated, and there is a greater awareness. So while we are practicing, there has to be that quality of meditation. There has to be that quality of awareness during the asana practice, okay? Because it's not just a physical, I stretch my arm, I get a nice body, get a beautiful body from it. No, it's not. We may enter the path of yoga because I just want a beautiful body, but eventually we start to realize there's much more to it than just getting a beautiful body. There is so much more I can get from this practice. It's a complete therapy. After asana comes pranayama. Prana is the vital force that is the basic unit of this universe. This whole universe is made up of prana. And this prana is what keeps us alive. Now, regulating this prana is crucial, because by regulating the prana, you're able to regulate the mind. So what are we after? Again, I repeat, yoga is the science of the mind. Never forget that. It's not the science of the body. It's become that in the world. It's actually the science of the mind. And so with pranayama, when I regulate my prana through my breath, so the prana is contained within your breath. And when I regulate my breathing, I'm regulating my prana. And when I regulate my prana, automatically my mind becomes very calm. It becomes very tranquil. Yeah. And you've noticed that. You do a few rounds of alternate nostril breathing, you do all the pranayama techniques we share here. You find that your mind becomes so still, so calm. You don't have any room for a negative thought. You don't even feel like arguing with anyone, because your breathing has become very calm and regulated. But let's say if I'm all the time breathing, I'm hyperventilating, I'm over breathing, I'm already anxious, it's very easy for me to get edgy, to fight with someone, argue with someone, because I'm already on the edge, you see. But when I ground my breathing, when my pranayama, through pranayama, if my breathing is really calm and regulated, I will see a change in my mind. The breath is the gross form of the mind, by the way. The mind is very subtle. To use the mind to control the mind is very difficult, but using the breaths to control the mind is a lot easier. So we all know that, right? Now they have so many different breathing techniques in the world that they teach you. You're anxious, they say, okay, do box breathing. Okay, do this breathing, do that breathing. Why? because it brings down that anxiety, brings down that emotion, your anger. You have a bit of anger, and then you just count your breathing and you slow your exhalations. All of a sudden, you don't feel so angry anymore. So one of the best ways to control your mind and your emotions is through the breath, pranayama. And therefore, pranayama is given a lot of importance. And if you look at pranayama, it is the bridge between the upper three and the lower four. It is the bridge that when your breath is regulated, then you are ready to go into the next step called pratyahara. Pratyahara is where you're able to take sensory withdrawal. Your mind, being the king of the senses, is able to turn inside. So one of the reasons we are so deluded and we are so living in ignorance is because we are so outwardly oriented. If we look at our daily lives, from morning to night, it's out, 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 out. Okay? And the only time when I get in is when I go to sleep at night, but unfortunately, I'm unconscious when I sleep, right? So they say sleep and samadhi are like two cousins or two brothers. Yeah, death, sleep, and samadhi are considered three brothers. Why? Because in death, you lose your body. In samadhi, also, you lose your body. You've merged, your spirit merges with who you are. And in sleep, in deep sleep, you forget your identity, you forget your name, you forget your bank balance, you forget everything, forget all your problems. So sleep, nidra, the only problem is in sleep, we are unconscious. So it is not giving us the benefit of samadhi. Yeah. So pranayama is a sensory withdrawal, is turning the mind and senses inward. So now you're creating the conditions for dhyana or meditation. Okay. So once my moral ethical conduct, my dealings with the world, with myself, I'm good to all, I've no conflicts with anybody, then I'm practicing asana to keep my body fit, so my body is not going through sickness or disease, because that becomes an obstacle on the path of yoga. The asana helps me with that. Pranayama helps me to regulate my breathing so that my mind becomes more tranquil. Now I'm ready to turn my mind and senses inwards to pratyahara. And now pratyahara then leads to what is called dharana, in which I'm able to hold my senses inwards for a period of time. Now, when I can do that, when I can attain that state of dharana, it is, the literal meaning is concentration, but we're not talking about the concentration where I'm kind of stay, watch your breath, watch your breath, watch your breath. No, that's tension. It's where you are relaxed, and at the same time, your mind is watching something, for it to then go into the state of dhyana. So dharana leads to dhyana, which is meditation. What is dhyana? And it is a meditation then for a period of time that will have you get the glimpse of what is liberation, samadhi. It is that peace, that tranquility. In the Bible, it is said, the peace that passeth all understanding. You cannot describe it. You cannot even explain it. And many of you have probably experienced that sometimes when you just sat and you've just enjoyed that feeling, like, I don't feel like coming out of it. I just feel like I can just stay here now for an elongated period of time. That means you are now starting to touch. And there are many layers, levels of samadhi. So you probably reached a certain level. Yeah. Many levels of samadhi, which he explains also in the sutras. Okay, so you must have this background. You must understand. So in the first portion, he talks about the first 5 limbs. In the second portion, he talks about in the first portion, he talks about all the different kinds of samadhi, and he's inspiring the aspirant to really practice, and he gives you certain techniques in the first part to practice meditation and stilling the fluctuations of the mind. In the second portion, in sadhana pada, it's all practice. It's all about the practices. Okay, so second pada, sadhana pada. And then Vibhuti Pada is all the powers, the siddhis that you get when you become a practitioner. What are the siddhis or the powers that you get as a practitioner? Vibhuti Pada. And Kaivalya Pada is basically the attainment of the absolute. Kaivalya is the absolute. So it's then talking about, having attained almost that state of liberation. Yeah, he talks about that in the last portion. Okay, so with that background, I will proceed. Any questions? So you understand the. So now we go into So the second verse, as I mentioned, is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yeah, and there is a lovely example that the author gives. He says, so the mind field, okay, which is called chitta. What is a mind field called? Chitta. The chitta, it consists of chitta, consists of manas, which is your mind, buddhi, which is the discriminatory power, the intellect, ahankar is the ego, the I sense, you know what the ego is. So you have mana, chitta consists of mana, buddhi, ahankar, okay? So let's say, what does manas do? What is the role of manas? What is the role of the mind? The role of the mind, remember, it's a sense organ. What does it do? It through the eyes, ears, nose, and through the different senses, it gathers information, and so it's the mind is called it's the entry door and the exit door. So through the mind, I get information about the world, and then my mind assimilates that information, and then the mind acts, and then there is the whatever action needs to be taken is taken based on what my senses perceive. So basically, let's say my mind becomes aware of a smell that's coming out of the kitchen, and then I smell something nice coming out of the kitchen, and then what happens? The buddhi, the intellect, comes and says, oh, that's cheese. Yeah, that cheese, remember, that you had in Switzerland ages ago. Buddhi is the discriminatory power that's able to kind of discern and say, oh, what is that? Yeah, the mind receives the information, the intellect makes something of it by saying, oh, that was what you had a few years ago in Switzerland, and it was a nice tasting cheese. So then the ego comes in, ahankar comes in and says, oh, I must have it. Okay, I must have that cheese because I remember eating it ages ago, and it gave me great pleasure. So what is the mind constantly seeking all the time? Mind is constantly looking for pleasure. The nature of the mind is to desire. What is the nature of the mind? To constantly desire. So what is it that thwarts our progress? Two things: desire and fear. Desire for pleasure, and fear of pain. Two things that drives us, that motivates us for everything we do. For all our actions, it's driven by these two things: desire and fear. And these also become the two great obstacles to self-realization, because I'm constantly bound by desire. One desire is met, then I have another desire. So now he talks about, so now what do? I rock up to the kitchen. I've been sitting perfectly happy, very peaceful, right? But now I had a fluctuation in the mind. That's a vritti, right? It says you go and have the cheese. You must go have the cheese. Because remember, you had it, it gave you pleasure. So there's a vritti already created. There's a need created. So now what do? I rock up to the kitchen. I get that piece of cheese, and I come back and I sit down and I eat, and I feel, okay, back to peace. But then again, something else comes. Yeah. And then again, I go there. So this is how the constant vrittis are constantly disturbing my peace and tranquility. Yeah. Which is why in this day and age, we need to allocate a time to sit and meditate, because if we don't do that, we're constantly bombarded by information, and the senses are constantly picking up something or the other, and wants to do something with it. Do you understand? I look at something, immediately the mind conjures up, okay, I'm going to make money out of that. That's what I'm going to see, an opportunity there. That's what I'm going to do now. Do you see how we get caught up in the whole thing? We're completely gone. We're gone from that. You had a question?
So, like, this really resonates with me because I, for a long time, never can find happiness. Like, like you say, like, we do these things and we taste all these things and we buy these things, and when this is, then you want something more, right?
Yes. It never ends. Desires never stop.
But to really find where is that kind of point between, like, because of course we like to achieve.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, buy some new Lululemon or whatever.
Yes.
Whatever it is that we like to.
Yes.
How do you enjoy those things without depending on those things?
Good question.
Always getting it.
Yes. 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 Without getting attached to it.
Yeah.
The problem is the attachment. So desire is something that is natural. Because we have a mind, there will be desire. You cannot run away from desire. Cannot run away, because you have a mind and you're living in this world. But what causes the problem? What is the troublemaker? Is the attachment and this feeling that my happiness depends on the Lululemon, or my happiness depends on that. And I'll be happy if I get the cheese. I'll be happy if I get the Lululemon. It's not going to bring me happiness, because I'm so deluded. I believe in the past it gave me pleasure. Now I think that pleasure is happiness. Pleasure does not equal happiness. Do you understand? In pleasure is contained pain. Do you understand? Pleasure cannot be without pain. One is just like yin cannot be without yang, and yang cannot be. They're two relative states, yeah, belonging to the same one absolute. The same way pleasure and pain are two sides of the same coin. So what brings me pleasure today? Now the cheese, let's talk about the cheese. Okay, so I go to the kitchen and I eat it. Now I don't stop with one piece, right? I say I want more, because you know what? Oh my God, I've missed this so much. So I'm going to have more. I'm going to have more. Then I'm going to have more. What is it going to lead me to? PAIN. Right? Right. So the very thing that's bringing me pleasure today will most certainly bring me pain tomorrow, because it will become a source. If I'm slowly, that pleasure is making me attached to it. I'm starting to identify with it. And so that when I'm separated from it, what is it going to bring me? Tremendous pain. Yeah.
So is it the mindfulness and our practice and meditation and stillness of the mind? Is it all of those things that help find that middle point, I suppose?
Yeah, well, what mindfulness does, okay, what mindfulness or awareness does is it wakes up another dimension in you, which is the intellect. You see, the intellect is the higher mind. Think of manas as being the lower mind. I hate to say it like that. There's no such thing as high and low, but it is indeed manas that is constantly picking up information and wanting to do something with it. But the buddhi, or the intellect, which is the discriminatory mind that comes in and says, wait a minute, you are lactose intolerant, you cannot eat that cheese, or you should not be, you were sick, you forgot became sick after eating it, so I don't need it. Or the discriminatory part of you says, no harm, I go have a piece and end it there. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Do you understand? So bringing the intellect into play can change things for you. And to wake up that intellect, I need to be aware. If I'm not aware, I get carried away by the mind. The mind leads me there, and I'm a victim of my mind, which is what is the case for all of us. The mind is the one that is governing my life, not my intellect. It's my mind that's governing my life. My mind says, go yell at that person. I go yell at that person. I'm not even listening to my intellect that's saying, wait, hold on, pause. Just give it a bit of a break. Then see if you still feel the same way after 1 hour. Right? But the mind, if it's the mind, the habitual mind, which is governed by habit, what is the mind governed by the way? Desire, habit, memory from the past. Everything is from the past. The mind is always, because it's the mind that is storing, it's a storehouse of all my memories of the past. The mind that said that cheese is nice, go eat it, go take it. Then the intellect comes in and says, wait a minute, I'm sitting here enjoying, I don't need, is that cheese, do I really need to eat the cheese? Then I'm able to say, no, I don't need it, I'm sitting here. Now, wisdom arose from the intellect, from being aware, right? That's why they say that when you're eating your food, if you're really mindfully eating, you will only eat 1 or 2 pieces and you'll say, I'm satisfied. But if you're eating and you're having a conversation, or you're eating and watching TV, you're just mindlessly eating, because the mind is saying, I like the taste. So I keep popping that, whatever it is I'm eating. I'm not even present to see what it's doing for me, right? But if I'm aware, then I'll stop eating after a while, because I say, listen, I'm feeling a bit sick, I'm feeling a bit full now, I better stop, right? The intellect comes in. I've given room for the intellect to come in. But if I'm not aware, so what are we doing when we practice asana? We're learning how to cultivate awareness. Do you understand? When I cultivate awareness in my asana, and I'm starting to become more aware of the sensations in my body, I'm starting to get aware of my breathing, starting to aware of how I feel in the pose rather than how I look in a pose, then there is a shift that happens. Yeah, I start to become very conscious. I start to live my life more consciously. And the more consciously I live my life, in living consciously means I'm governed by buddhi or intellect, not by mind, not by the lower mind, which is constantly sweeping me away in so many directions. Yeah? The mind wants this one, like a spoiled child. You know how spoiled children are. I look at that, I want that. I look at that, I want that. I look at that, I want that. Yeah, that's desire. And there is never going to be an end to desire. You say, okay, I'll fulfill my desire for cheese. Then after a few minutes, you say, you know what? I forgot there's some chocolate in the fridge. Let me go up and pick up some chocolate. You get what I mean? So it never ends. Desires are something that you will notice will never end. Yeah. And it only gives you temporary pleasure. The word is pleasure. Okay. So we see here that this is the one thing, this is at play in every minute of your life. So if you become more aware in your day-to-day life, you'll start to see when the mind has taken over and when the intellect has taken over. And so yoga is about not what you're doing on the mat, but it's what you do off the mat. Yoga, your real yoga practice begins when you get off the mat and you start to relate to the world. You become very aware of, am I getting carried away by my mind now? Am I getting carried, or is my intellect supporting me and helping me? And the more I utilize my intellect, the more wisdom arises in me, and I make the right choices that I don't regret later. And I'm building on my happiness quotient, the real happiness that's coming from within. And the restlessness starts to become much lesser. Do you understand? So he says in the second sutra is the most important sutra of all the 196 sutras, where he says that this whole entire world is a reflection of my mind. So basically, my mind, your mind has fabricated your world, my mind has fabricated my world, and my world is all my past experiences, all the imaginations that are governing my life currently, all the thoughts, all the identities that I have accumulated up to date, all that starts to become my reality. So what is my reality within inverted commas, because it is not real, by the way, it has no substance. That it's like the clouds, which is just nothing but gases accumulated into that form. It's basically understanding that all of this, my life, is a fabrication of my mind. If I'm happy or if I'm unhappy, who is responsible for that? I am responsible, because it is my perception. I cannot blame it on my circumstances. You go to India, you see people living in the slums. They are happier than the millionaires who walk out of their plush apartments in their fancy cars and fancy clothes. They are happier. They're much more happier than those guys. So it doesn't mean that happiness does not mean I have it all and so I'm happy, I'm going to be happy. We are very deluded in thinking like that. So once we realize that my happiness is my own creation, And my happiness is clearly my perception of the world. How do I perceive life? How do I perceive my relationships? How do I relate to the world? Then I start to understand that I am responsible for the world I have created. If my world and my life is full of mess, it's a complete mess, who has created that? I am the creator of it. It is a reflection of my mind that is out there as a mess. My mind is a mess. Where do I go to change it? So if I look at myself in the face in the mirror, right? If I look at my reflection in the mirror and I don't like what I see, what do I have to change? Do I have to change something on the mirror, or do I have to change something on the one that's seeing? I have to change something here, right? Do you understand? So in the third sutra, he talks about tadadrashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. The face cannot see itself. The seer is the real you, in other words, cannot see itself. Do you understand? The mind is the mirror through which the seer sees itself. Do you understand? So my mind, I have to polish my mind if I want that reflection to be pure. If I want to see myself not warped, I want to see a beautiful image of myself, shouldn't my mirror be clean? I have to clean out my mirror. My mirror is clean, then my reflection will be good. But if my mirror is full of dust and I try to look at myself, I can't see myself. So the same way, if my mind is full of junk, my mind is full of rubbish, my mind is full of anger, my mind is full of resentment, bitterness, envy, jealousy, greed. Do you think I have any connection with my real self? I cannot. My mirror is completely foggy. So what do I need to change? I need to first go within and change the way I live, change the way I relate to the world. And as I start to change my relationship to the world, to objects, to people, then my mirror starts to get cleaned. And as the mirror starts to get cleaned, it's a natural peace that arises. I'm able to have glimpses of my true nature. And as I start to have glimpses of my true nature, now I'm starting to live my life more consciously. I'm much more aware. Before I have that outburst of temper, I hold myself back and say, wait, is that necessary? Do I need to scream? No. I probably need to rest for a bit and see how I feel and come from a place of love. I change that around. Can I come from being angry? Can I transmute that into something that is much more constructive, much more wholesome, that is going to help me and help the other? Because that anger is not only going to destroy the other, it's also going to destroy me. Remember that. Whatever I give to others, I'm actually giving myself. So the realization that the other is me is, even if it's intellectual when you first start yoga, it's enough. It's okay. Even intellectually, if you say the other is me. And would I like to be treated like that? No. So why would I treat the other one? Why would I treat the other person like that? I would treat the other person the way I would like to be treated myself, because the other is me. If I'm hurting the other, I'm hurting myself. I don't want to do it. I don't want to hurt myself. Yeah. So he talks about being selfish in a good way. You see, we say selfishness is bad. Selfishness in a good way. I'm selfish. I don't want to rob myself of my peace. So I make sure that I'm at peace with everybody else. Because if I'm not at peace with others, whose peace am I robbing first? My own peace. It's very simple. It's very logical, practical. Okay. So we see that this whole universe is a reflection of myself, of my mind, and what I see, whatever I perceive, so it is. It has nothing to do with the world being a certain way. You know how I always blame, but you know, if that person is misbehaving, that's why I'm unhappy. When they behave, then I'll be happy. It has nothing to do. Your happiness, if your happiness is depending on that person's behavior, you're never going to be happy in your life. Do you understand? Because after that person makes you happy, someone else will make you unhappy. So if you're constantly depending on others to make you happy, or objects to make you happy, it's never going to happen. So we know this intellectually. There's nothing new in what is being said, but we we are so bound by our samskaras. So he talks about samskaras and being bound by the gunas, the three gunas, rajas, sattva, and tamas. So I'm going to bring in those concepts now. So he talks about this entire universe. So Purusha, or the absolute, okay, maybe I'll do the diagram now and I'll explain. So I'll be able to explain it to you. Okay. So you have Purusha, or the absolute. So the unchanging. Remember, I told you the infinite, the eternal. So remember in the sutras, he says, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. When these fluctuations come to a standstill, the third sutra, he says, tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. That's when the seer becomes revealed. Yeah, he becomes, who you truly are becomes revealed to you. When your mind, when the mirror of your mind is completely cleared, right? Until the mirror is foggy, you cannot see the reflection. For instance, if I throw a stone in the lake now, and I try to see the reflection of the moon on the lake, I cannot, because it's full of ripples, right? The lake has to be clear. So your mind is also like that lake. It has to be very still. It has to be clear, so that the seer, who you are, the unchanging dimension that is within you, Purusha, which is called Purusha or Brahman, becomes revealed to you. That which you are becomes revealed. So when that becomes revealed, then that is yoga. That is the state of yoga. Do you understand? So Purusha, or the absolute, is the source or the ground, the underlying principle of what is called prakriti. Prakriti. What is prakriti? Prakriti is nature. Okay, what is prakriti? We are nature. Animals are nature. The trees are nature. Everything that has nama rupa, everything that has name and form and attributes is called prakriti. Everything in this universe has, and everything that you can perceive through the senses is called prakriti. Now, prakriti, where did it arise from? It arose from Purusha. What is the source? What is the source of, so let's say, I give you an example. You know, a screen, you go to a cinema, what do you see? You see an empty screen, right? Then on that empty screen, they will project a movie, right? So the movie will come, and in that movie, there'll be the hero, the heroine, the whole story will be enacted, right? And then what happens after the movie finishes? The movie finishes, the screen goes back to its unchanged. In the same way, Purusha is like that screen. Do you understand? And this person is like that person in the movie screen that is playing certain roles. And now I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a whatever, teacher. I'm playing all these different roles. My life is a story. Yeah, you can all sit down here and say, I can write a book about my life, right? You have long stories about your life. The same way, but underneath all of that story, underneath in the screen, you will see murder, you will see love, you will see all the different stuff happening. But underneath that, is the screen affected at all? Screen is untouched. Yeah. And that is who we are. We are the screen, but we take ourselves to be the person that's on the screen. So we are completely misled because we take it so seriously. And when things go wrong, we get so disillusioned, or when things are right, we become so attached. We go into those states of raga, dvesh, and we cling to life. We are afraid to die. We're afraid of death. We're afraid to lose this. We are afraid to lose what we have. And as a result of that, we suffer. What does that lead to? Suffering. We suffer. Yeah. So the key is, yoga clearly states that all suffering is due to ignorance. What's the word? Ignorance. Because I'm ignorant of my true nature, I suffer. But the minute I become aware of who I truly am, as the unchanging screen, think of that movie Screen, that, okay, and the story, maybe the building will burn down, the hero will die, he'll get cancer and die, the heroine, something else will happen to her. But you know what? In the end, it was only this is only a movie, by the way. Your life, my life, and all of these, we are just actors. Shakespeare was very wise. He said it. Shakespeare said it. We're all just actors. Who are we? We're just merely actors. We're just puppets playing our roles. The director is somewhere else. But where's the director? What does yoga say about the director? The director is not out there sitting in the clouds. The director is inside you. Okay? Where is Purusha? It's in every cell of your body. It's in your breath. It's closer to you than your breath. It is there, right now as I speak. It's your consciousness. That's Purusha. So what is Purusha? Consciousness. It is there. Yeah. But now this Purusha has now taken on this identity of being this or that, right? A woman or a man, blah, blah, blah. You understand? Now, what does a woman or man have? Okay, the woman or man, now first thing is Mahat or Buddhi. The first thing is Buddhi, or the discriminatory power. Remember I told you just now? The intellect. The intellect is the first thing, yeah, or the discriminatory power. Okay. Then that Mahat or Buddhi leads you to Ahamkara. Now there's identity. This is me. What is Aham? Aham is me. The me. Do you understand? What is Ahamkara? The ego. What is Ahamkara? So now I have an identity. So what happens? A baby is born, right? And you look at a baby, the first 2 years, the baby says, Thomas is hungry. He doesn't even say, I am hungry. He doesn't even know. He's a boy. He doesn't know anything. He just says, so-and-so is hungry, right? Because he doesn't have his identity yet, hasn't come in yet. He just knows he's alive. That's all. He's alive. He's hungry. He wants his food. He wants his mother, father, whatever, right? But then around 2 years, the ego comes in. We see that, right? The ego comes in. Now, with the ego is the 3 gunas. Now, this is where the gunas come in. Gunas, what are the 3 gunas? You have rajas. Gunas literally means attributes or qualities in Sanskrit. Literally means qualities or attributes. So you have rajas, tamas, and sattva. So sattva, okay, so we look at rajas. Rajas is the force that makes everything work, that makes everything move, okay? When rajas is in a state of balance, it's good. It's the movers and the shakers, they get things done, right? But when that is in a state of imbalance, when there is aggression and ambition, and I will, I need to get this done, and even if it means I hurt 10 people along the way, but I need to get it done, that is, the person is too rajasic, okay? And as I've mentioned to some of you before, everything in this universe, even the food you eat, can be either rajasic, tamasic, or sattvic. So what is rajasic food? Rajasic food, I give you an example, is foods that are stimulating. What are stimulating foods in your diet? Coffee, tea, sugar, right? Stimulating. So they make you very rajasic, Okay, I'm now ready to go. I have my coffee now, caffeine shot. I'm now ready to go. Right? Right? So stimulating, overly stimulating. Tamasic is inertia. The literal meaning of tamas is inertia. Now, when it's in a state of balance, it is grounding. It's good for us. We need a little bit of tamas. When you go to sleep at night, sleep is a tamasic activity. We need it. We need it. It's good. But if I sleep too much, what happens to me? I become very sluggish, right? I say, okay, I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep today, but I'm tossing and turning, not getting really proper sleep. I feel very sluggish after that, tamasic. Yeah. Or I eat a heavy meal that is full of fat and full of, very rich food. What do I feel after that? I feel like, I think I need to go take a nap now. Yeah. So that's tamas. Tamas is inertia. And as I mentioned, it's not a bad thing. Everything in this universe has tamas, rajas, and sattva in different quantities. But when there's too much tamas, then it makes me very lazy. There's too much rajas. It makes me too ambitious to a point where it starts to kill me. I become so overly stressed. I'm in the rat race. I'm trying to achieve something. I'm trying to, so that is too much. So when those two are in a state of balance, it's that sattvic state. Sattva is the luminous state, the state of balance. Yeah, it's sattva. So sattva is something that we cultivate as we start to practice yoga. We start to practice more yoga. We start to become more conscious in our day-to-day lives. Practicing yoga will make us more conscious. And as we start becoming more conscious, we cultivate more sattva guna. Do you understand? And when we cultivate more sattva guna, then we are less volatile in our emotions. We are less restless in the mind. We are much more at ease with ourselves. What's the word? At ease. So sattva is when I am more at ease, E-A-S-E, with myself. Okay? I'm at ease with the world. When I'm at ease with myself, I'm at ease with others. I'm at ease with in my relationships. I'm not there trying to control others, trying to govern other people, trying to change other people. I live and I let live. Okay, I'm at ease with myself. And when you're in the presence of somebody who has that quality, they make you feel happy. When you're in the presence of someone who's sattvic, you actually feel good in their presence. You feel like, I feel happy when I'm here. I'm happy when I'm in the presence of this person. And some people who are very rajasic, you almost feel like, oh my God, I'm tired, because they exude a certain energy. Yeah. Or there are people that whenever you talk to them, there are problems. There's only problems in their lives. There's only issues that they're dealing with. So very, very tamasic, they can pull you down. Do you understand? So this whole universe is pervaded by these three gunas. Nothing in this universe, there is nothing in this universe that is not governed by these three gunas. The minute there is prakriti, the three gunas go with it. What are we seeking to do? To bring more sattva guna into our lives. So my actions, my speech, my thoughts, are they sattvic? Are they pure? How are my thoughts? All the time having negative thoughts. Is that sattva? No. What is my diet? What am I eating? What am I putting into my body? Is it sattvic or is it very rajasic or tamasic? What sort of food am I eating all the time? What sort of quality am I going to get if I'm constantly eating that kind of food? Is it going to hurt me or is it going to make me more sattvic? So the food I eat, the type of movies I watch, the type of books I read, the type of people I mingle with is going to determine whether it's more sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic. Do you understand? So I start to live my life more consciously. I start to bring in more of that sattva guna into my life. Okay. Now from sattva, we talk about then how we have the manas, mind, the mind, which is a refined, which is a refined form of prakriti, and from manas you have the 5 cognitive senses and the 5 senses of action. And from tamas you have the 5 gross elements and the 5 subtle elements. So what are the 5 cognitive senses through which I cognize? My cognition depends on these 5 cognitive senses, which are seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, hearing. Yeah, 5 cognitive senses. The 5 senses of action is elimination, procreation, movement or ambulation, speech, and hearing. These are the 5 senses of action. Okay, karmendriyas, 5 karmendriyas, 5 jnanendriyas, and then you have panchabhuta, the 5 gross elements, which are, what are the 5 gross elements? What is this human body made up of? What is Prakriti made up of? So the Prakriti is made up of the 5 gross elements. What are the 5 gross elements? Earth, water, fire, air, space. 5 elements. Okay, and these 5 elements are related to the 5 organs of action, which make it so hearing. So your earth is related to the sense of smell. Okay, water is related to the sense of taste. Fire is related to the sense of sight. Air is related to the sense of touch, and space is related to the sense of speech and hearing. Do you understand? So your 5 panchabhuta, the 5 elements, is also related to your the cognition, your cognitive senses. Okay, so this is what a human being is made up of. Can you see on the right-hand side? This whole section is nature, is what the human being is made up of. Do you understand? The human being is made up of the intellect, the ego, and then is governed by the 3 gunas, as I explained. The human being has a mind, it has a cognitive senses, and through the mind it has the 5 senses of action. And then it also has, the gross body is made up of the 5 elements. Yeah, the 5 gross elements, the 5 subtle elements. So Prakriti, and it's known as Prakriti, which is nature, and her 23 evolutes. Where did it arise from? It arose from Purusha. Arose from where? Now, what exactly is yoga? How does yoga fit into all this? How does yoga fit into all this? Sorry? Thank you. Yes, yes. So yoga is all about getting back from here, back. So Purusha became identified and became all this, right? So yoga is nothing else but going back home, coming back to your true nature, which is this, not this. This is temporary, transient, subject to change. You know, in Buddhist teachings, it's very beautiful. The concept, the whole thing is based on the 3 gems. It's based on the truth. What is the truth according to Buddhist teachings? Anicca, anatta, yeah. Non-self, anicca, anatta is impermanence. Everything is temporary, and dukkha. Yeah, the entire existence, according to the Buddha, is based on these 3 principles: anicca, anatta, dukkha. Anatta is non-self. There is no substance to the self. Yeah, which we think, oh my God, I'm solid, I'm real. It's actually, we are not. Anicca. Anatta is anicca is impermanence. Everything is temporary, and everything is subject to what? Decay and death. It will die. It will end. It's finite. It's not infinite. It's finite. It has a beginning and an ending. So this part, think of this part as having a beginning and an ending, right? We know that at death, what happens? The 5 elements go back into the earth, right? As they say in Christianity, from dust to dust, ashes to ashes. So in India, they actually put the ashes on their forehead. You go to India, you go to some of the sacred cities like Banaras and all, you see they actually take the ashes and put it on the forehead. Why? To remind themselves that ultimately, because in India they cremate, they don't bury. They say ultimately, I'm only going to become ashes. I'm going to become a pile of ashes. What am I going to become? So why am I misbehaving? Why am I acting like this? Why am I hurting others? Ultimately, where am I going to become? What am I going to become? Ashes, right? Like everybody else. It's all temporary. So I don't need to be attached to anything because it's all temporary. Yeah. So we see that essentially this is all the finite. It's got a beginning and then ending. It is a mortal part of us, mortal, okay? But there is a part of us within this mortal body which is immortal. Within us is the eternal. Within us is the infinite. Within us, right now, in equal measures, even the criminal who's sitting in the jail has the same thing that you and I have, no difference. The only difference is he doesn't know it and you also don't know it. The sage or the yogi knows it. That's the difference. There's no difference between you and the yogi or the criminal. Sorry, between you and the yogi is the only difference is the yogi is aware that I am actually Purusha. I'm not this. Because this is going to come to an end. This has really no substance. No substance. So what am I attached to? What am I attaching myself to? If I attach myself to something that's going to die or going to change, am I going to be happy? Is it going to bring me happiness or is it going to bring me suffering? Suffering, right? If I'm attached to something or somebody in my life, when they die, how am I going to feel? But if I have wisdom, I understand it is temporary. It's all temporary. I too will die in the same way. It's a reminder that I better live my life more consciously because death is knocking on my door. And every minute I live is a preparation for my death because death is a form of samadhi. I have a chance to merge with the whole at death. That's another opportunity I get. If I miss the boat while I'm alive, I get another chance at death to attain that state of samadhi. If I have lived my life well, I can attain it even at that point. My death will be a very sacred death. Death is very sacred. And we have the opportunity to attain that state of samadhi in death. Yeah. But that's only if I have lived my life well, if I have lived my life full of resentment, full of anger, full of bitterness, full of hatred, full of all of those things. I don't need to tell you, greed, discontentment. How do you think my death is going to be? It's going to be painful death because I'm letting go. I have to let go. And death is the ultimate surrender, ultimate letting go. And that's painful. So every minute I get an opportunity to let go, to let go, to let go, to let go, let go. So the main sutra he talks about, the entire 196 sutras, he talks about the main thing is abhyasa vairagya. What is vairagya? Vai is without, raga, color, without color, where I'm not attached to anything because I have the wisdom to understand that everything is fleeting. Everything is fleeting. It's fleeting. It's fleeting. The year is coming to an end. Can you imagine as we speak, right? And if we have wisdom, we realize I'm coming one day closer to my death. How have I lived my life so far? What have I done with myself? Yeah. Have I brought happiness to others or have I brought a lot of pain? So then he talks about the types of fluctuations. Yeah, can I go move into that now? Next. So I'm going through these sutras without my book because I want you to get the gist of it. If I sit to explain each sutra, it's going to take me many, many days. Yeah. So I'm going to give you the gist so that many of you I know are new and need to have a overall picture of it so that wherever it's important, I'll pick up the sutra. Okay. But you all understand. So yoga is basically nothing but going from the unknown to the known and from the known back to the unknown, which is here. And where is this? It's contained within me and you and everybody. So yoga is basically the wave that has, that, you know, if you look at the waves of the ocean, right? It's like the wave thinking I'm separate from the ocean, but actually the wave is the ocean, right? It's like the ray of the sun that's coming out of the sun, right? Is it the sun itself, or is it a ray? Is the ray separate from the sun, or is it the sun? What is the ray made up of? It's made up of the same thing that the sun is made up of. Yeah. So also all of us are like that. It's like gold, right? I can take gold and I can make it into a pair of earrings. I can make it into a pair of a necklace. I can make a pair of bangles. But ultimately, what's the substance in all of that? It's the same one thing. In the same way, we are also like all those jewels in the jewelry shop, right? The essence is gold, is the same, Purusha. Do you understand? What is the essence in each and every human being? Even the man walking on the street, Purusha, the absolute. So when we talk about being united and we talk about unity, it is that feeling, that understanding that I and the other are one and the same. We are not different. Because like the jewelry, or talk about sweets, okay? You go to the pastry shop, you'll see a muffin, you will see a pastry cake, you will see a macaroon, you will see a pavlova, you will see all these beautiful different things, right? But what is the one ingredient in all of them? Sugar. In the same way, in each and every one of us, there is only the one thing. Maybe that form, that Purusha has taken on a different form in one person. The same Purusha is also the criminal in the jail, by the way. I can't say the person in the jail is not Purusha. The person in the jail is also Purusha, but he's forgotten. He's forgotten who he is, right? So we see that once we understand this, our whole behavior, our whole demeanor, our attitude changes. And when our attitude changes, we become love. We are love. And love not for one person, for all beings equally, because all beings are that. All beings are me, and I am all beings, right? So what is the essence of Purusha? Love. What is the essence of Purusha? Love. So everything other than love falls into which category? Falls into this category. Whenever I get angry, whenever I get upset. But now when I get angry and upset, do you think this one is affected? This one is unaffected. Just like the sun, when the sun does not say, I will not give light to the criminal, I will not give light here. The sun gives light to everyone equally, unconditionally. And the sun, even, let's say a dog has defecated on the street, right? The sun comes the next day and all that dissolves, becomes purified, right? The sun doesn't say that's feces, I will not shine my light on that. It shines light on everyone equally. So when we talk about love, we're talking about unconditional love. Do you understand? It's like the sun that shines its light on the world, but is unaffected by what's going on in the world. It's unaffected. So Purusha, in the same way, is unaffected. You may be going through a divorce. You may be going through somebody's death. You may have lost a huge amount of money in the bank. But Purusha, the real you, who's affected by all those circumstances? The identified person, which is this. This is affected. Do you understand? But this remains unaffected, untouched. Do you understand? So what are we trying to do? When we still the fluctuations of the mind, when the fluctuations of the mind are stilled, this one becomes revealed to us. What becomes revealed? Purusha becomes revealed. The absolute becomes revealed to us. But until we are, if we are still stuck in this, we are identified in this, yeah, we can't even feel that. We're so caught up in our mind and all the issues of the mind that we suffer. We really suffer. Yeah, we suffer. But when we connect to Purusha, wisdom arises. There is pain. You will never be free from pain. So don't think that after I'm enlightened, there will be no pain in my life. There will only be pleasure. Far from it. Now, the pain is an inevitable part of our existence, as the Buddha said, dukkha. Pain, that's why they say when a baby is born, the first thing the baby does is cry, right? And when an old man is dying, the old man is laughing, the world is crying, right? When the baby is born, the baby is crying, the world laughs, right? Parents are so happy, baby is crying. The first thing the baby does is cry, right? Oh my God, I've come into this jail. Oh my God. Oh my God. I've entered the jail. So death is release from the jail. But it depends on how we have lived our life. So this whole practice, this whole science of yoga is teaching us how to live our lives a certain way. And when I live my life a certain way, I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of letting go because I know that it's all temporary. I'm here just like a traveler that has come in temporarily to see a place, to enjoy it. Yeah. What do we do when we travel? You go to Europe, you go to Paris, you go here, there. What do? You enjoy, you have the nice food, you used to go sightseeing, you enjoy. That's what we're here to do. What are we here to do? To celebrate and enjoy. We're not here to suffer. Do you go and suffer when you travel on a trip? Who suffers when they travel on a trip? Nobody suffers. It's because we are so ignorant that we suffer. We are like travelers here temporarily on this earth, planet Earth. Think of it as a trip. Come here on a trip. And whenever I suffer, I should remember that I suffer because I am ignorant, not because of somebody. Stop blaming the world. Stop blaming my circumstances. I stopped doing that. First thing I stopped doing when I practice yoga properly is I stopped blaming anybody. I realize it's all here. It's all here. It's all here. It's all here. Nothing to do with anybody else. Stop, stop, stop. I make a change in my life. I make a dramatic change in my life. I let go. What are the things I need to do is to sit down and see what brings me unhappiness. Can I make a list of that? What is it that makes me unhappy? Now, these are the things I need to let go of. He talks about that in the Sutras. He says, just like I'm cleansing my closet, like I look at my clothes and I say, okay, I need to get rid of all these clothes. Yeah, because it's just jamming up my cupboard and I think I have a lot of clothes, but when I go to wear my clothes, I have nothing to wear, right? So let me first take out everything. In the same way, I live my life by starting to become aware. What are the things that bring me unhappiness? Can I sit down and write it down? Why am I holding on to it? What is the fear? You'll see that it is fear that you're holding. What is underneath all of that? Refusal to let go. What is underneath your refusal to let go? Fear. What is it? Fear. So when I am able to see through it, when I'm able to see the mechanism, then I can say, oh my God, it's destroying me. Why am I holding on to this? Let it go. I don't need it. And that is intelligence. That is using buddhi, the intellect. Buddhi has come in and told you, stop it. You don't need to be afraid. Live your life. Live your life as if it's going to end tomorrow. And live your life as if it's going to end tomorrow, so that your ending is a good ending. All of life is a preparation for death. Remember that. And if you don't understand life, you will never understand death. And if you don't understand death, you will not understand life. You need one, cannot be without the other. Yeah. But once you realize that the real you is immortal, there is no death. Death is only of the body. Death is of the ego. Death is of the 5 elements, the 3 gunas, the cognitive senses, the mind, the ego, the buddhi. All of this comes to an end at death. But this is deathless. What is this? Deathless, meaning it's untouched by death. Cannot be touched. Nothing can touch it. No sorrow, no disease, no pain, nothing can touch it. So we see that the key here is allowing the mind to settle down. And when the mind comes to settle down, first of all, for my mind to settle down, I need to get rid of all the stuff in my life that I'm holding on to for dear life that's not serving me. Not serving me. Whether it's people, whether it's some fears that I'm holding, and only we know what that is. If we are brutally honest with ourselves, we will be able to see what is it I'm holding on to, which is giving me sleepless nights. Can't sleep at night. I'm tossing and turning. I'm unhappy. Yeah. Let it go. Let it go. If I can do something about it, I do. If I can't, I let it go. So letting go, and that is non-attachment. So he talks about the 2 main pillars of the sutras, abhyasa, vairagya. What does abhyasa mean? Practice, practice, practice. So the practice is every minute of the day, not just I do 10 Surya Namaskars and I'm done. Today I did my yoga practice. Tick it off in the diary. No, sorry. And then go out and have a fight with someone. Scream and shout at someone outside. Hurt somebody. No use. That asana is of no use. It's just, you're just doing it. It becomes a narcissism. I'm just doing it to have a beautiful body. So we see, and my ego becomes even bigger, because now I can do the handstand, and I can do the headstand, and I can do this stand and that stand, and I can stand on my fingers. So I must be so great. I am so great. Look at me. Right? And the whole world admires me. See how great I am. It becomes even more of a ego deification, egoic thing. Yeah. We're supposed to go beyond the body. What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to go beyond the body, not be stuck in the body. Yeah. So we see that asana is one part of the 8 limbs. It's only one part of it. Yeah. But to everybody, yoga has become synonymous to asana. Yeah. So we see that it's not. There is so much more to it. And the key is, how am I living my life? Yoga is a way of life. What is yoga? It's a way of living. And when I change my way of life, then I surround myself with love. I become love myself. I surround myself with love. And what more do I want? What am I really looking for? What is every human being really seeking in their life? Love. What are we all seeking? We think, oh, it's the money that will do it. Oh, it's the house that will do it. But what are we really seeking? We're seeking love. Because I feel if I have the house, then I'll be loved. If I have the body, I'll be loved. If I have the looks, I'll be loved more, right? Ultimately, what is everybody seeking? Love. It's just the one thing that this whole universe is after. And what is in the least short supply? What is in short supply in this world? Love, right? So I often say when students come to class for a yoga class, they're really looking for love, attention. What is love? Attention. What is attention? Love. Attention is love. When there is attention, when I pay attention, I am imbuing it with the energy called love, because I am love. You are love. Purusha, what is Purusha? Love. So when I imbue it with that love, it changes. It changes. It's funny because even scientists say that when you view something under a microscope, give it attention, even the molecular structure of that item changes, object changes. It's incredible. This is science. I'm not making it up. That's how powerful attention is. Yeah. So when there is attention, wherever attention goes, that's where energy goes. And that's energy is love. Okay, very simple. So we come back now to any questions before I go on? So I've talked about Abhyasa, Vairagya. Now we go into, so letting go is very, very important. And then we go into all the different techniques. So then he talks about Ishvara. Yeah, he talks about Ishvara, which is Purusha. He is the teacher of all teachers. He is the most ancient teacher. So when you practice yoga, which teacher are you following? The outer teacher or the inner teacher? Your inner teacher. The outer teacher is only there, and a real teacher is the one who's pointing you back to your own inner teacher. There is no outer teacher, by the way. It's all temporary, because he or she is also part of Prakriti. Do you understand? So who is the real teacher? Inner teacher. So therefore, the prayer we say, Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Para Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I bow to that teacher of all teachers that is within me. It's not outside. The great sage Kabir said, I went to look for you in the mosque. I went to look for you in the church. I went to look for you in the temple. I went everywhere to look for you. Finally, I realized that you were in me, and I realized that I was actually you. You were me, and I was you. Yeah, I went everywhere looking for you. I thought I'll find you in the church, so I went there to the church, but I didn't find you there. Yeah. So we see people flocking to yoga classes. They don't go to church, they come to yoga classes instead. I actually have a student in Italy. I don't know if she's here, but she said, Shilpa, what's happened now is funny. Nobody is seen in the church on Sunday mornings. They're all in yoga classes. Why? Because no religion, no God, no external entity, no guru, no teacher can give it to you. Nobody can give it to you. The key is with you. Only you can do it. You stop relying on anybody for that. All the guru does. Who is a guru? He or she is simply one who lights the way and says, listen, here's the path. I walked on it. You walk on it too. And it has helped me. It will help you too. Out of my love and compassion, I share with you what has helped me. That is a guru. But not someone who makes you reliant on them. No. One who takes you back and say, go back to yourself. You have to wake up your own inner teacher. Ultimately, your own inner teacher is within you, not outside. The outside, this everything we see is simply a reflection of the inner. Even the scientists don't know whether the dreams at night are real, whether what we are dreaming at night is real, or what. This is called the waking dream, by the way, and that is called the sleep dream. Do you understand? It's all a dream. This is waking dream, that is sleep dream, what we dream at night. It's all a dream. If you come to think of it, it's a dream with a lifespan, right? It's a dream which has a limited lifespan. So let me make it a beautiful dream by planting good seeds, because each minute the seeds that I'm planting is going to give me either beautiful flowers or it's going to give me bitter fruit, right? So whatever seeds I'm sowing now is going to determine what my future is going to be. So in the sutras, he talks about 3 types of karma. Yeah. What are the 3 types of karma? Prarabdha karma, agami karma, and sancheti karma. Okay. What is prarabdha karma? Prarabdha karma is the actions. Karma means actions. What is karma? Actions. So all that is happening in my life right now, my prarabdha, I cannot change. Why can I not change it? Why is it I can't change what's happening in my life right now? You tell me.
You decided?
Sorry?
You already decided?
So already, because I already planted the seeds ages ago. It's simply taking fruit now. I planted the seed in the soil. And now I'm experiencing the results of those seeds. Do you understand?
What about sometimes someone suffering from it?
Sorry? How about?
What about if the seed is planted by someone else and
It can never be that the seed is planted by someone else and you suffer. It can never be. I'm so sorry to tell you that. Sorry to break that to you. There is no such thing. It is the seeds you planted. Remember that. The only thing I can only change agami karma, meaning the one that's yet to come. I can only change what is yet to come. So the seeds of joy, I spread happiness wherever I go. I make people happy. What is that? What are those seeds? Seeds of love, seeds of acceptance, seeds of happiness, seeds of joy. I plant seeds of joy every minute of my life. Make others happy. And when I do that, what am I going to get? Happiness. If I'm miserable right now, can't blame it on anybody else. Stop doing that. I planted seeds in the past, and now I'm getting the action. I'm getting the fruit now. Yeah. Guilt. Guilt is a form of suffering, absolute form of suffering. So guilt is something where I'm stuck in the past. What is guilt related to? Past. And regret that I should have done this. Why did I not do it? And that is a form of ignorance too. That's going to lead me to suffer. The thing is, once I have done something, rather than feeling guilty, what should I do? I change that behavior. I change that behavior. And when I change that behavior, I completely transform myself. So if I'm guilty of having hurt somebody and I become aware, instead of remaining guilty, I go and ask for forgiveness. I'm just giving you an example. I go ask for forgiveness. Or if that person is no longer alive, then I start to, if it was an elderly person, then I go and do good to other elders. Or if it was a young person, then I try and serve. I do some kind of a service to make up for that, because I feel I did something that I should not have done. So I become more loving. So what is the antidote to guilt and regret? Love. It's the healer of all separation. Love heals like nothing else does. So I cultivate. So when I remain in guilt, then it is a form of blaming myself for something I did, right? Now, if I cannot forgive myself, I will not be able to forgive others who have done wrong to me. So the first thing I need to do if I'm guilty is to forgive myself. What is the first step? It's to forgive myself. To err is human. To forgive is divine. So the first thing I do is I forgive myself. I did something wrong. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. Because if I don't have the capacity to forgive myself, will I ever have the capacity to forgive somebody else? Never. If I'm living my life in guilt and regret and shame, I'm going to feel the same way about others. Never going to be able to forgive the other. Sorry, this is a truth, fact of life. The first step is I forgive myself. And from forgiveness comes, when you forgive yourself, that gets transmuted into compassion and love, because you become much more compassionate. You realize, I made a mistake, okay? So if I made a mistake and I'm human, I allow the other also to make a mistake. And if they make a mistake, I'm not going to be hard on them. I realize that they too are human. I made a mistake. They are right now in their illusory state. They are in a state of ignorance. All I can do is be compassionate towards them, rather than, be judgmental and be harsh on them. Forgiving the self is the first step to healing. First, forgive myself. Then only I can heal myself. If I don't forgive myself, I cannot heal myself. I'll be living in that. I will die with that regret and that guilt. And I'm unable to let go. You see, I'm unable to let go of something that is going to cause me a lot of pain and suffering. Yeah. So I'm planting seeds, and I'm watering those seeds, unwholesome seeds, by continuing to keep up with that guilt. But when I stop watering that seed, what will happen to that seed? It'll wither away and die. Do you understand? So instead of watering the seed, I need to stop watering it. I stop watering that seed of guilt. I stop watering the seed of regret. So understand that whatever I'm planting, if it is causing me pain and causing me suffering, those seeds are unwholesome seeds. I need to stop watering those seeds, because they're causing me a lot of suffering, and I don't want to suffer. Yeah. As the Buddha said, enlightenment is the ending of suffering, and all suffering is necessary until we realize that it's unnecessary. Do you understand? He said, all suffering is necessary until we realize that it is unnecessary. All suffering is our own doing. It's our own doing. So if you see your spouse suffer, you see your parents suffer, what do? What happens? We can only give them compassion and love. There's nothing we can do. Yeah. Often children blame themselves. They say, because of me, my parents are suffering. No. Nobody can suffer on account of anybody else. Each one is responsible for their own happiness and for their own suffering. No one is responsible for anybody else's suffering. Remember that. Okay? Any other questions? So then he talks about the two types of vrittis, okay? So we talked about how yoga is the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind, which is stilling the vrittis. Vrittis are the fluctuations. What are fluctuations? Thoughts. Okay, you can say thoughts are a form of energy, and thoughts are the fluctuations that actually give rise to the inability to experience your true nature, inability to experience Purusha. Yeah. So what kind of thoughts? He talks about, first of all, he talks about the 5 types of vrittis. Okay. So we'll go into that now. What are the 5 types of vrittis? The first is pramana. Pramana is the type of vritti which is, so you have vrittis that are useful to begin with, and vrittis that are going to bring you suffering. Okay. Now, pramana is the one type of vritti that we need in order to now, right now, pramana is the information you're receiving about the sutras, right? So this is information that's coming from this ancient text that is helping you to live your life. It's called pramana. So pramana is either through perception, or through the scriptures. Yeah, you come to understand about your true nature, either through inference or through living life. As you live life, you start to understand life better. You start to infer what life is and why it is a certain way. You make inferences, your own inferences, your intellect, your buddhi comes in, kicks in, and it tells you, don't do this, don't do this. So through your own inference, you understand, I should not be angry. When I'm angry, it hurts me, it hurts everybody else. Should not do it. So this inference, I'm just giving you an example, but I'm saying what he's saying is pramana, those fluctuations that are related to pramana are actually can be good for you, because they are teaching you, maybe either through a teacher, through a teaching, or through your own inference. You have this perception about certain things in your life. And many things you have learned as you've lived your life. You have perceived certain things and understood that I don't want to make those mistakes. I see my elders making those mistakes. I don't want to make those mistakes. That's your perception and your inference that is helping you to live your life. Yeah. So pramana, the second type of vritti is called viparyayo. Viparyayo is a vritti that comes without any basis. Okay, mistaking a rope to be a snake. Yeah, that's what is given in the scriptures. Okay, viparyayo. Vikalpa is imagination. Yeah, I'm constantly imagining. You know how we often do that, right? Well, somebody didn't smile at us, so then now we think, oh, maybe she's angry with me. Oh, maybe she does not like me. Oh, maybe that person's probably just having a bad day, right? But we take it personally, right? So vikalpa. So I'm just imagining all these things. And maybe that's not even true, right? And jump to conclusions when there's no basis to it. Yeah, vikalpa. Then there is nidra and there is smriti. So there's 5 types of fluctuations. A nidra is sleep. Yeah. So when I'm sleeping at night, although my mind is temporarily quiet, in deep sleep, the mind becomes silent. But when I wake up in the morning, I can wake up and say, oh, I slept really well last night. So it's still a thought. There's still a recording of it. So there is, the vritti is still there. Yeah. And the last one is called smriti. Smriti is memory. Yeah. So I have this massive storehouse of memory in me. Yeah. Somebody hurt me. Somebody did something to me. It doesn't go anywhere. Where does it remain? So then that leads to thoughts. My memories lead to thoughts, and those become vrittis. Do you understand? So smriti is memory, and memory can be very, it can hurt us if we're constantly living based on memory. Based on my memory, of my dealing with you in the past. I didn't have a good memory. So now when I look at you, how do I look at you? I don't look at you with friendly eyes anymore. Because now my memory is governing my behavior towards you. Do you understand? But who knows, that person's probably changed, right? But I'm not willing to see that because I'm still stuck in my old image of what that memory was about of my dealing with that person. Who knows, after all these years, that person has become, more pleasant, more friendly. So but I'm still stuck in my memory of that. So I don't let it go. I'm refusing to let go of that. So what should I do? Let go. Each moment is a new moment. Each moment is a fresh moment to relate to that person with love. I don't relate to them with those tainted eyes of this is what you did to me. So now, and if we live like that, we're not really living life in the moment. The memory is governing how we live our lives. And that is going to lead us to suffering, because now I'm holding on to this memory. This memory is dictating my relationship with her and with other people. I'm going to be afraid. I'm going to be wary. I'm going to keep a distance. So it starts becoming separation. I'm preventing myself from being love, which is my true nature. So we've covered a fair bit of the Samadhi Pada. Tomorrow I will go over all the methods that he talks about to help still those fluctuations. He talks about it in the first part. Okay. Any other questions? Any questions? Anybody want to share anything?